Ellen Fröjd, CEO and recruitment consultant from smartrecruitment.com. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a very interesting time, especially coming off of the pandemic. We've seen so many changes in how people operate and how companies are hiring, and some of the power has been put back into the hands of the employment seekers themselves. So what are the current trends happening regarding iGaming recruitment?
I mean, I would say that in terms of Manila has always been, as we all know, the iGaming hub of Asia. And in our view, it's continuing to be so as well. Obviously, there were movements when the pandemic hit where companies had to move out of Manila at the moment. They have to close their operations. But for the past 1 to 2 years, they have started to come back to Manila, opening up the offices here again. So looking at the needs and the demands that we have from our clients, Manila for sure is a market, or the Philippines is a market where it's growing much more. In terms of trends, I would say a little bit more focus on the markets is that China market is one market that we hear much less about from our view. Obviously, I can only speak from a recruiter's perspective in this. But markets that we see are trending more and more, which they have been doing for some time, is markets like Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, and also India. And another market which we are seeing a lot of actual local operators in Asia opening brands for is Brazil. Brazil, I mean, we also work for Latin American markets, so we do have operators and companies over there, also in Europe, targeting Brazil, but we hear about more companies and had inquiries about companies operating from Asia for the Brazilian market because of the changes that are happening in that area at the moment. So something that is still worth adding to this, as you mentioned as well, it's really the candidates market. It has been the candidates market for some time. What I mean by that is it's a higher demand than there is supply of industry professionals in this industry. So it's very important for companies to have a strong employer brand, a good recruitment process, and also overall a positive candidate experience if you're looking to hire people in this industry.
But what about the roles that the companies are currently procuring? Have you seen that shift more in a certain direction, or they're going more for entry level, mid level, higher level?
Our company, we help clients with all different departments, but we mostly focus on mid-level to C-level positions, because that's also where our network has been growing throughout the past 6 years. But with that said, looking at the positions that we see, companies are hiring more and more for, it's really about market growth. I mean, of course, there are positions that, they are hiring for their other visions and focuses, but from the demand that we have from our clients, it's really about market growth. So any position, and this goes for B2B and B2C companies. So any positions involving conversion and acquisition, business development and sales, product development, any kind of marketing strategic positions, and also developer roles. Obviously, some markets might focus more on some kind of positions and some markets on others, but overall, those are the positions that we see higher demand from.
So which are those markets then? You said that they're the ones with higher demand.
So in terms of the markets that we see the higher demand for, obviously, as I mentioned, Philippines is one of the iGaming hubs still in our view. So that's one of the markets where they are hiring for these people. Another one is Taiwan. This is a market that has, in our perspective, been a very steady market even throughout the pandemic, specifically among the B2B companies. They didn't have the same movement of companies closing down and having to move out like they did in Manila. And they are continuing to open up operations there as well with new companies. Two other markets that are have a very increasing demand from our clients from is markets like Thailand and Malaysia. Due to the sensitivity in these markets, obviously being very sensitive markets of gray areas, they're not so official about these opening of these offices. So they are doing it. We have both current clients as well as new clients coming to us wanting us to help them set up their staff teams in these countries, but it's much more done under the radar. And lastly, I would say Dubai is also a country where we have had clients for a long time working out of Dubai, but we see more and more companies deciding to opening up their companies there. And I would guess it's a mix of the tax reasons, but also actually to the convenient time zone, because it's only about 3 to 4 hours difference to majority of at least the Southeast Asian countries. So working from Dubai, targeting Southeast Asia actually works time-wise very well.
Speaking of that time difference and the way that people are moving around, it has become more and more a digital nomad world. We've moved, especially during the pandemic, not only working from home, but then people choosing to live in different countries from the ones they work in.
Yeah.
How has that influenced then the retention of employees by companies?
I would say that, obviously the whole digital nomad change that have happened after the pandemic, the main thing that has really stuck is the remote flexibility. This is something that candidates are looking for, and this is also something that has increased a lot among our clients' hiring needs as well. I know that not all positions and all organizations can have a remote setup. There might be some positions that needs to be in an office, but majority of the roles can actually be done from a remote setup, basically. And the upsides with remote setup is, first of all, the productivity. There are studies showing that about 35 to 40% of the productivity actually increases when working remote compared to working, for example, in an office. And this then also shows in the employees' performance. So in that sense, when you work remotely, people are looking for work-life balance. That's something that a lot of candidates that we are talking to, besides looking for a better salary and those kind of things, that used to be the highest focus, but today working remote, having a work-life balance, I would say is equally, sometimes even more requested from candidates. They can be okay with a little lower salary if they're able to work remotely and be able to control their own time in a different way.
That's an interesting takeaway from the period that we've just come off of, because there was such let's say economic destruction in so many different places, and people were unable to be able to plan their future economically because they didn't know what was going to happen. And it's really interesting that coming out of that period, people are now not only focusing on money, they're focusing on how they enjoy their lives. Do you think that's something that's going to continue going forward? I
think so. Of course, this is more like a generalized view from our point, but I think it is. People are valuing more. I think that the pandemic and the situation, specifically for some countries that were really strict on restrictions during the pandemic, and people, went through personal stuff during the pandemic as well, it made them value more their life and what they do with their life. Of course, work is a big part of our life. I don't know, what is it you say? 70% of your life is, you are working, and that's why you need to do something that you love. But we see that it's something where it's a negotiation alternative in terms of flexibility. So before, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was a very high focus on if they're changing a job, they want a higher salary. That's it. Now, of course, salary is important, but if the employer would be open for them to work remotely from where they want, or 6 months a year they want to work from Brazil because that's where their family is, or whatever it might be, that can actually make them agree on a lower salary for sure.
Well, you mentioned right now that in many fields it's a candidate's market. Do you see it switching to a recruiter's market, to a company's market within, let's say, the next 5 years?
I'm not sure. I think it depends. It really depends on how the market develops. I think that the only way for that, I think, to happen, just thinking on top of my head now, is if companies are more open to hire people from other industries. Because at the moment, we don't have enough experts in the industry. Like, for example, if you are a company today, an iGaming company, interviewing a person that you find interesting for your organization, you can count on them having 5 other conversations with 5 other companies at the same time, and you won't convince this person to work for you. So that is really how it is today, at least from our view and the candidates that we speak to, if you want the best people on the market. But something that we try to make our clients be more aware of is that this is an issue, and we can only expand the iGaming experts in this industry while being more open to getting people from other industries. And this shouldn't be, of course, any industry, but related ones, like coming from crypto, forex, fintech, e-commerce, and working in business intelligence or digital marketing positions. Coming from those industries can actually bring a good insight in your organization as well. So if that happens, then for sure, it can even out more to a candidate and client market in the next 5 years. But it needs to be a change in terms of the mindset from the companies.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what does happen now, and as we move forward and as companies are able to recover from the pandemic as well, aside from just the candidates themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Exciting times ahead. Well, thank you very much for being here to share your insights.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.